go ahead and lie down on your back. I'm going to meet you there in just a moment. You may want a strap for this first little bit. You may not, but you can have it handy if you have one. And if you don't, everything that we're doing these days, I'm trying to make them accessible, even if you don't have props, but some of my friends do have them. And if you do, sometimes it's nice to work with them, right? So I'm trying to teach to both sets of folks. So as you lie down on your back, here we are in that Shavasana pose, right? You can have your feet on the ground in constructive rest pose is technically the name of this one. Feet wide, knees lean in. You can have the legs extend out. And remember, that may change throughout the class. Maybe in the beginning you feel sensitivity and it feels nicer to have the feet on the ground. And maybe by the end of class, the legs can extend, right? That's not the main goal or anything. Don't let that be what you're trying to shoot for, but just meaning the body changes. Make sure that you're working with the body that you have at this moment. I myself am really tight in my upper back and my shoulders. I just had another friend talk about shoulders. We got some wrist stuff going on. So where is it that you are sensitive? So go ahead and close the eyes and just start to tune into your physical body. And I'm not going to talk you through that scan. The way we're going to do it today is, what is the most dominant thing that you feel when you close your eyes and tune in? And it might be that it's restricted or it's a pain sensation. It might just be that's where you're bringing your awareness because, you know, that's an area of your body you know well, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. Just what is dominant in your attention when you first bring your awareness to your body. For years, it was my jaw because I clenched it 24/7. So every time I came to my body, I immediately went to my jaw to try to remember to unclench it. Yeah. That has started to dissipate a little bit. Today, I'm like, woo, hello, bra line area on the back, right? So what is it? And then what is the next thing you notice? So kind of walk through with the most dominant thing, but then check into the next thing and the next thing and just kind of scan through your body, noticing what is talking this morning or what you have a connection with. And maybe there are some areas of your body that you don't have much of a connection with, that you don't check in on often. Maybe take a moment and check in on those. Maybe that's an emotional thing. Maybe something happened in that region, so you turned off in that region and you don't give it attention or sensation. Maybe it's just that you just never think about it. It's never given you pain or grief. So why would you, check in. And then bring your awareness to your abdominals and let the abdomen be so soft that when you inhale, the belly floats up, and when you exhale, the belly floats down. Its nickname is soft belly breath. Its more technical name is diaphragmatic breath or diaphragmatic breathing. If you are someone who likes to play with visualization or even just imagination, maybe you imagine that above your belly button, kind of between your belly button, your solar plexus, there's a bright yellow sun in there. Just trying to give us a little bit of extra charge, a little juice. Right, this is energy, vibration. This is also the area literally that our body digests things. And then we're going to start with that half frog we've been playing with. So let the legs extend out if that's available, if they were bent. Arms might come up a little bit. They're fine wherever, as long as they're not in the way of the movement of the knee, which they probably will not be. And you're going to drag the right heel up and let that right knee move out to the side. So we're going to do just right side. So just right side. Don't alternate. Right heel pulls up, the knee goes wide, and then slide that back down, right? So just nice and slow, kind of find your pace. I will always encourage you, especially with this kind of work, to work on the breath, meaning instead of like boom, 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 boom with the leg, can you move a little slower? Can you inhale and slide the heel up, taking the whole inhale? Can you exhale and slide the heel down, right? So instead of popping into places, think of moving on the breath, being fluid like water the whole time. Pardon me, we're still working the right side, it's true. Notice how when you bring that right knee out to the side, your right side of your hip / pelvis moves down and the left side lifts a little bit. Don't change that. I'm not asking you not to do that. I'm asking you to observe it, that's all. And then go ahead and extend that leg all the way out. And before we go to the left side, just pause for a moment to see if you notice any difference between the right side of your body and the left side of your body. And maybe there are also similarities, and that is all right to check into as well. And then the left leg. So we inhale and the left heel slides to the pubic bone, knee wide, and exhale, that heel slides down. And that is the motion. You now have your pattern, just left side. So go ahead and start to find your rhythm. I've been talking about that a lot these past few weeks. What is your breath? What is your rhythm when I'm not calling it out? I'm not going to tell you something is right or wrong. I will just encourage you to smooth the breath out and see if you can't be a little deeper than were you not paying attention to it at all. And then just noticing what's happening in that left hip. Does this side feel more restricted? Does it feel more open? Maybe coming to that observation that every time the left knee moves out to the left sacrum or the left hip, pelvis, moves down and the right hip lifts up a little bit. Pardon me. And you know what? I say that maybe that's not happening in your body. Maybe it's not. And then go ahead and extend that leg all the way out and pause. And then that's something for you to observe, that you don't have that rocking action in your pelvis. It doesn't make you a bad human. Just means it's not rocking. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and move into a twist. We're going to do windshield wiper. So drag one leg out and then bring the knee up to the sky. Drag the other leg and put that knee up to the sky. Walk your feet out as wide as your mat. Tee your arms out to the side. Take an inhale. With an exhale, the knees are going to go to the right. And this one will go on the breath as well. The inhale, the knees will come up. And with an exhale, the knees will go to the left. So you now have your pattern. Inhales, bring the knees up. Exhales, bring the knees. And we are alternating right and then left. At any point in time when it feels good to you, if it feels good, I should say, you might turn your head the opposite direction of the knees and start to add that into the mix, keeping your shoulders nice and heavy on the earth. The jaw soft, the tongue soft, the neck soft. So it's more of a rolling with the head than it is a picking it up and moving it around. We're going to add one more thing into this. The next time you go over to the right, actually we'll add two more. As you go over to the right, you might let that left knee swing past the right knee up towards the right chest. And I'm demonstrating that if you're like, what is she talking about? But once you look at me and you figure it out, look away, yeah? And let the neck relax. So again, as I bring the knees to the right, my left leg just kind of continues to swing, nice and gentle. Try not to add too much muscular activity to that. Let it be more of a loose swing. Right knee comes up when my knees go to the left. If you're not digging that, I would say just don't do it. You can keep the head center, or you can keep turning the head the opposite direction of the knees. And then one more piece to this puzzle, this pattern. If you want to get a little more intense in the core, once you bring that left knee up, you'll slide both legs out to straight and then slide both knees up. The right knee might continue. So it's just a little addition, and I'm demonstrating. And it's just going to start to get your core working on a slightly deeper level. If this hurts the low back or it doesn't feel like a motion that's working for you today, just go right back to windshield wiper. You do not have to do any of this fancy stuff that I'm adding in. Head can stay in the middle. That's what I'm doing today personally. You might turn the head the opposite direction. And let's do one more of whatever it is that you're choosing this morning. One more to the right and one more to the left. And then extend the legs out. Let them go hip distance or a little wider if you want. Let the arms come down a little bit, readjust slightly, and just check in with that lower body. See how that lower body, we started to get into the low back, the spinal column just now. So how's all of that going? And if, like me, when you were doing that leg extension, you slid down, if you want to take a moment and kind of scoot yourself back on your mat, go ahead and take a moment and do that. Now, I'm going to say roll. Hopefully, I'll be able to still do the directions well. You're going to roll onto whatever side gives you the access to the screen for the first round. Yeah? So I'm rolling onto my left, but if you're rolling onto your right, that is okay. Once you see the first side, you probably won't need to see the second, yeah? You're gonna have the knees bent. We're gonna go right into the quads and say hi to the quads this morning. So you're gonna bring the top knee towards the chest. You're gonna grab that ankle with the top hand. Now go ahead and let that knee start to make its way towards the bottom edge where your feet were of your mat, and try to pull the frontal hip point up. Now this is one area that if you have that belt, that strap, that whatever, you could always put a strap around that shin if that helps you access this. If the knee needs to be a little further forward, it's okay. You can let the knee be a little further forward, right? As long as you're starting to hopefully feel the front of the thigh without pain in the knee. You'll notice my knee is, hopefully, approximately the height of my hip, yeah? And I gently pull my frontal hip point up towards my head side of my mat. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to step that right foot back behind the left leg. Now you can leave the left knee bent or you can extend the left leg out to straight. You get to pick the one that feels best in your body. Today I'm going to go with the straight leg and I'm going to bring that top hand out in front of me. Yeah? And then I'm going to slide that top hand away from me. We did this a few weeks ago and slide back. So we're starting to move into the spine on a little deeper level, hopefully. Sliding that right hand forward. You can always just leave the knees stacked if that feels a little too harsh to have that foot back behind you. And let's go ahead and do that a couple more times. You can start to find your own rhythm, right? And hopefully this isn't bothering anyone's shoulder. Hopefully this feels really nice and like it's stretching the muscles around the shoulder blade. The next time you come back with the hand, you're going to let your top hip just really gently drop back behind you a little bit. I mean, I'm not even going an inch, just a little bit of weight. Keep it weighted. And then as that weight's back, you're going to reach forward one more time and maybe take an extra breath there, letting that mid-thoracic area on the back side and the side of the body open. And then go ahead and slide that hand back, support yourself. We're going to make the shape of an arrow. So if you had that knee bent, you can leave the bottom knee bent. But if you can extend both legs out and the arm as well, so I'm a straight arrow, right? I'm going to reach that top arm over and grab my top wrist with my bottom hand for a support system. I'm going to lengthen the top side of my body. So my top heel really reaches all the way down. It can still stay on the bottom leg. And my arm reaches without me reaching from my trapezius, right? My shoulder stays relaxed even as I lengthen from about this part of my body in two different directions, right? That low belly toning lightly. And then from there, maybe you reach that top heel forward so much that it lifts just to the height of the hip joint itself, the buttocks bone, and then push that heel out. Now from there, we're going to very gently, don't go very high, lift the leg up a little bit and bring it down to the height of the hip. Lift the leg up a little bit. We're just waking up those outer hips. Bring that down and lift the leg and bring it down. One more time. Lift the leg and bring it down. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then you're going to roll onto your belly. We're going to do a couple of belly things, and then we'll do the other side. So let those elbows go wide. Make a little pillow with your hands for your forehead. I'm going to come up on fists just so vocally you can hear me a little better, right? But you can be down on your hands that are flat if that feels good. Press into the tops of the feet. And as you push into the tops of the feet, your thighs hopefully get a little buoyant, right? Don't overdo that. And then from there, see if you can pull your belly button just a little bit forward towards your hands, and then push down into the arms, and it's baby cobra. Shoulder blades down the back, and you lift up just a few inches. Don't go too crazy high yet. We're just saying hi to our upper back. And come back down. So this is what we're doing on the breath. Pressing into the tops of the feet, thighs lift, belly button pulls towards hands, hands pull back, but I don't actually move. It's called traction, right? And exhale, come down. What part of your body are you trying to lead with? Maybe, maybe not. As you come up, some people might notice their chin really wants to go forward without the rest of the body, right? Maybe it is that you never ever lift your head up into position and the back of your neck gets really stretched and a little too long. So can you lengthen all sides of your neck when you come up equally? Do one more of those, and this time you're going to hold up. Reach those big toes straight back. Again, it's a traction. I traction my belly button towards my hands. I traction my hands back towards my belly button, or what I could call an isometric action. Take an inhale and exhale, come down. Just that this first round. Roll onto your other side body. So I was on my left. You don't need to see camera probably, but you can always do the whole transfer thing. Just more muscular effort. I would not if I was not trying to face camera for y'all. Quad. Bring that top leg towards you, grab the ankle, or maybe it's a strap, right? And then you start to reach that knee down towards the foot side of the mat, trying to keep the knee approximately the height of the buttocks bone, yeah? The main magic, I think, for getting the quads is not pulling the heel to the buttocks. I believe it to be as your knee reaches towards the foot edge of the mat and that frontal hip point, your as-is bone, pulls up to the top, the head side of the mat, those two moving in opposite direction. Usually stretch your front of your thigh pretty darn good. One more breath, we're almost there. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring that foot behind us. Remember, you can leave just the knees stacked if that's better for you. You can leave that leg bent, or you can straighten that leg. You can find out which one feels best in your hip and your side waist and everything else that you have going on in your body today, yeah? And then from there, pardon me, you're going to bring your top arm out in front of you. Now comes that sliding action. Don't worry too much about the hip for the first part. Just let the arm slide away and just start to wake up the area around the shoulder blade. And come on back. And then you're working your breath. Don't listen to me. You breathe. Your inhales will breathe you forward, and your exhales will bring you back to what I'll call neutral. So just go ahead and do a couple of those. Right? Where do you feel this in your body? Does this side feel tighter or more open? Or any other quality that you might put on it? Just because I'm saying those two doesn't mean that those are the only two choices. Right? Maybe one side feels lighter, one feels heavier, etc. And then the next time you come back with that arm, you're going to let the top hip have weight behind you. It doesn't have to move real far, but just think of it being weighted back. And then keep it weighted back as you reach away from and out of that. You might stay there for a breath and explore what's happening in your body. Maybe breathing into anything that feels tight. And then from there, we're making our arrow shape. So bring your hand back for balance. Extend that leg out. Remember, the bottom leg can always be bent if that's better for your body. Your top hand, wrist, will rest in the bottom hand for a little support system, and we lengthen. So reach the heels, but particularly the top leg heel, down, right? Reach the fingertips to the head side, beyond the head side of the mat without pulling your shoulder out of your socket. Again, I'd love for you to think of being split right at the top rim of that pelvis and moving in two opposite directions. And then reach that top heel so much, maybe it lifts about a couple of inches, about the height of your buttocks bone or the hip joint itself, yeah? And then don't worry about going high. That's not the point. We're just starting to wake up a little bit, yeah? You're going to go ahead and let that heel lift a little bit and bring it down to about the height of the hip. And lift a little bit, keeping the belly toning, that low back long, right? And you can follow your own breath on this one. I think I called it out last time to you. Sorry about that. Right? And just move up and down a couple of times, just starting to say, good morning, hippie.
And the next time you get to reach up, you come all the way down. And this time you're going to roll onto your back body.
We got a couple more things and then we'll come up. I want to visit thread the needle, and we might add an extra piece on, right? But first we're going to visit Supta Padangusthasana, big toe pose, hamstring stretch. Bring the right knee into the body, and you can interlace behind the thigh or around the shin. Soften the shoulders down. Try to find the full long spine again, including that little space between the floor and the low back. We start to lose that here often, yeah. And then extend that left leg all the way out to straight for a second. And just push that heel out, opening the front of the left hip. From there, you're going to take your strap, or you might just interlace behind your thigh if you don't have a strap, and reach the right heel up to the sky, right? And I say up to the sky. Remember, the knee can be bent. It's more the action of reaching the heel up that's going to start to activate and talk to your hamstring, or actually get your hamstring to talk to you, right? Let that right hip move towards the bottom of the mat. Keep that right side body long and just start to breathe into that right back leg. Now, keep that. Bring the left foot on the ground again. Knee bent. You're going to release the hands, and actually I say release them, but you could even use them. If you put your hands on that big old meaty femur thigh area, I want you to literally try to rotate the thigh so that your toes point out, but I'm rotating my femur, and that's why my toes move that direction. Now try to keep your hands on your thighs for a second. Bend the knee, bringing the heel to, or the ankle to the left knee. So we're going to a thread needle, we're just going in a different way. So hopefully going in that way, your right hip didn't drop down lower than your left hip, right? So keep that, bring the legs in, maybe interlace behind the left thigh. Remember, you could always just leave the foot on the earth. You could put the foot on a block. Some folks might even go for the shin, but if you go for the shin and it rounds the low back into the ground, I'm going to ask you to try to find your low back curve again, right? And as we start to gently reach that right thigh away from us, hopefully we're starting to feel our outer right glute, outer hip area, right? Whatever variation you have, that's really the main target. If you're feeling your right knee, get out, yeah? And I mean that in the most loving way, or put your foot on the ground for sure. Now, some of us, we're fine right here. We're like, yep. Some of us, we're going to bring our right hand up, and we're going to grab, let's bring our left hand up first, actually, and grab onto the pinky edge of the right foot, put the left foot down on the ground, and the right arm, right, we're going to use a little core. You remember where that sunshine was? Above the, between the solar plexus and the navel, push that down to lift the upper body up a little bit, right? Let your sun push down, reach your right arm underneath the calf, and see if you can forklift it. Now you might leave the left hand where it is. You might reach the left arm under and forklift it. Flex the foot, pull the pinky toe of the right foot to the outer right knee, and that might be plenty for you. Shoulder blades down the back. Now maybe last piece here would be to extend the left leg all the way out towards straight. That heel can be on the earth. It does not have to be lifted. Heel forward, right? Shoulder blades down the back and lengthen. Take an inhale. And grab onto that foot, release that down, release the right leg out to match the left leg, pause, and notice. Notice your right side of your body, and notice your left side of your body. And breathe. So now we're going to go for that on the other side. So let's start with our feet on the ground and the knees bent. Bringing the left knee in, feel free to use your strap, right? But before you extend that leg up, again, as you hug the knee in, I just want you to notice if your low back is rounding into the floor, can you find that little bit of space? That'll come back a couple times, and it just gets harder the more complex our pose gets, right? Now interlace behind the thigh and push that heel up. If you're working with a strap, feel free to grab your strap and work with your strap here. That is on the table, right? And as that heel pushes up, the knee can totally be bent. You're looking for the place where you start to feel the back of your hamstring particularly, but as the heel pushes up and the toes pull down, that might also activate the back of the knee or the calf, the Achilles tendon. Any of these things might be talking right now. Hopefully they're not yelling at you because you've gone too far.
And then from there, extend the right leg out just for a moment. We'll come back to this, and I just want you to feel it without the complexity of the fork lifting of the leg, right? So the right heel pushes out, the left thigh moves down, and we lengthen, 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 hopefully a little space from the floor in the low back. Now, maintain the hips, put the right foot on the ground again with the knee bent. Yeah, your hands can come to that big old meaty thigh, and you're going to turn, rotate the thigh out into external rotation so your toes point out. Hold the thigh, don't let the hip drop. Put the ankle, the left ankle on the right knee. Think thread the needle. Release the thigh. Now you're going to start to bring those legs in. Maybe foot stays on the ground or the foot goes onto a block. Interlacing behind the thigh or in front of the shin. Again, my only request today is that you try to keep that little bit of space from the floor in the low back. And breathing here, we might go to that deeper place, but before we do, let's let that hip adjust, right? Get ready for the bigger thing. And you might not, you might stay right here. You might put your right hand on your left pinky toe edge and put the left foot on the ground. Let your sunshine push down to the ground to lift you up a little bit, right? I'm gonna fork lift through with my left forearm. I might keep my hand on my right pinky toes. I might bring my right arm to my ankle and fork lift the leg, right? Pinky toe of the left foot to the outer left knee. And I might stay right here, shoulder blades away from the neck and the head, right? I might extend that right leg all the way out or just work it towards, it might not be all the way out, right? And push that right heel out as you lengthen. Take one more breath wherever you are. And then that hand is gonna come onto the right foot to let yourself down with ease. And extend out one more time here in our Shavasana position just to tune in. How has your body changed since the first time you laid down on your mat? Okay, we are going to come up. Let's come up through the fetal position since we just worked on opening a whole lot of muscles. Let's not jam them all up to try to jerk ourselves up right off the bat. I do plenty of that, but today we'll work a little differently. You're going to take that blanket and you're going to either fold it into a knee pad or you're going to discard it off to the side, whatever's right for you. Actually, I'm going to change my position so I get both sides of my neck. I'm learning that as I teach Zoom. I try to switch my position on my mat so that I don't always look one way and my neck's like, hey, mama, what's going on? Okay, friends, cat-cow. When you get there, no rush. We'll inhale and we'll round the spine up today. So the opposite of the way I usually teach it. And exhale, shoulder blades down the back, reach the chest forward. If you're like, no, I want to do it the other way, do it the other way. If your wrists are sensitive, you can go to fists or you could come down to forearms and do your cat-cow from your forearms, right? Whatever feels right in your body. And Miss Lori, talk to me if there's anything going on in shoulders with any of this stuff, but hopefully so far we're okay. We'll do about 2 more in this vein. And then there's this super fancy anatomical word called pandiculation. You know, when you get up in the morning, you kind of like instinctively stretch and you get into those areas. That's pandiculation. You kind of tense it and lengthen it and then you let it go. So start to do that. What do I mean by that? Maybe you'll notice that if your right shoulder moves a little forward and your head moves over to the left, like that right rib cage or that right upper back. Maybe if you go a little further up with your right side into cat instead of the left side, right? So just kind of play. Let the body move around. I could also say this is kind of animalistic in nature, right? So just play with where are those areas in your body this morning that maybe you couldn't get if you didn't do this kind of weird lengthening stretching. Anatomy calls it pandiculation. I call it them getting into your nooks and crannies. You even got a snort this morning. Maybe the hips move back a little bit. So again, play. It can be whatever the heck you want it to be. We'll do one more breath in this way. And if you're like, absolutely not, that is just ridiculous, I am not going to move in that way, I got to have a long talk with you. A, B, just do cat-cow. We'll meet again in a second. Okay, come back to your neutral. Child's pose for good measure. Come back to child's pose for just a moment. If there's any tightness in the hips or you're not sure, you might just rock your hips a little bit, just lightly, just baby, side to side, just to say, hey, hippies, you can soften here, babes. You might have the hips up a little higher, right? If that feels better in your knees or your hips. Let's take 2 more breaths. If you got a tight spot in your back body or you're anywhere in your torso, I would breathe into that right now. You've got pretty good access to it. Okay, so we're going to move towards downward dog. My couple of friends, remember, you might just take this first stage. We're all going to go to active child's pose first. So stretch the hands out, the arms, lengthen the arms out, right? And plant the palms down, shoulder distance at least, maybe wider if your shoulders are tight. So Lori, this is where you would go wide if the shoulders are talking to you. And as you push the hands down and the forearms lift up, right? Those are downward dog arms. Pin the triceps in. You might just stay right here. You could always try that half downward dog with your knees above your hips. The rest of us are going to start to move towards downward dog. Keep the arms, inhale up to hands and knees. Curl the toes under and exhale back into your downward facing dog. And just a reminder, if you found that you were gardening and working hard or doing some kind of big thing, what balances you? I don't think we think about that nearly enough with our health and our fitness. We think we come from this age where we think we've got to work out, we've got to work hard, no pain, no gain. But if all you do all day long is take the kids here and then you do this and then you do that and then you got to work and then you got to do the cooking and then you got to do the cleaning and then you got to do the, is that really balancing you to then get on a treadmill and run for 40 minutes and try to do the thing and the thing and the thing? What balances you? Take an inhale. And with an exhale, we're all going to meet. Walking back to our mat, we'll end up in a forward fold. So if you were in child's pose, just come up and meet us there, or half dog, yeah? Grabbing onto your elbow points, softening in. A lot of people who are drawn to this kind of yoga come from their overfunctioners and underfunctioners. Brene Brown terms it, right? If you haven't figured it out about me, I'm an overfunctioner. Put your other forearm in front. And I was going to say, I think a lot of the people who are drawn to my style of teaching are overfunctioners. So maybe don't overfunction right now. Put your hands on your shins and reach the chest forward, lengthen. Pause, hands on the hips, elbows up. Inhale, come all the way up. And I'm an overfunctioner, but then there are the times when I need to get going because I get really lethargic and I have to know. So you have to know when to balance those things, right? But I'm just saying, if you've been working hard and working out and doing all kinds of crazy things, maybe you don't need to do all the extra stuff today. You can, I'm a liar. Leave the blanket, leave the blanket. We're going to do one knee thing. You might want your blocks. If you have them, you can put them off to the side. If you don't have them, you're okay, I promise. Top of the mat. Inhale, reach those arms out and up, soft shoulders. Don't go so high if it's hurting shoulders. Exhale, bending knees and folding in. Inhale, reaching that chest forward. Bending your knees, planting your hands, and stepping your left foot back. If you want those blocks, pull them in on whatever height you want. Shoulder blades down the back, reaching the chest forward. So think plank, but the right leg just happens to be forward in a lunge, right? But get that long spine, that strong, long spine. And then from there, you're going to bring your left knee down to the ground, uncurl the toes, and we're going to go through a series on the breath that's something like this. With an inhale, you're going to go ahead and you're going to start to straighten your right leg any amount. You don't have to straighten it all the way. With an exhale, you'll come forward, and I don't like you to hang in your joints, but you can move it in a little more than what we sometimes do, yeah? And inhale, but don't hang in the joints. Keep that pelvic floor turned on. And exhale, coming forward, moving those thighs into imaginary blocks as the pelvic floor work here. Now, the next time you go back, I'd love for you to stay back. Now, you might add on. You can move the blocks back, by the way, or your arms. You might flex your right foot and then push your right heel straight forward and start to extend the leg and see if your buttocks bones, those two protrusions on the bottom of the pelvis, instead of rolling to the ground, can they reach kind of up and back behind you like a downward dog until your right hamstring says, oh, you mean me? And you're like, yeah, hi, baby, right? But don't let it be like, yeah, you are going to stretch. I am sick of you being tight. Take another breath. And then coming forward, working this line. Come forward into the lunge. Don't go too far. Ankle underneath. And inhale, reach those arms forward and up. Try to find that pelvis right off the bat, right?
So all my pelvis cues are my usuals. Frontal hip points up, buttocks flesh down, moving your thighs into imaginary blocks so that your pelvic floor starts to help support that spine all the way up. Check into shoulders, soften them down. Right hand, right thigh, lengthening out of the left side waist, over to the right to lengthen your left psoas muscle. You might feel it right above the pelvis on the left side body. That is the top of the psoas as it leads around towards the low back. Coming back to center, moving it right into a twist. Let's just get it all in on this first lunge. Hand under shoulder, left hand on block or ground. Inhale, lengthen spine, right hip in and back. Exhale, turning towards the right leg. Now, depending on your shoulder and how it's feeling, you might reach the arm up. Option 1. Option 1 would be hand on thigh. Option 2 would be arm reaching up. And then for some of us, we're going to do baby circles. What do you mean by that? So you might start to reach the arm over towards the head, and then you can bring it down and go ahead and reach it, roll it back. Palm probably wants to turn forward, and then it'll turn towards the head. Do that one more time, if that feels okay. And then once you reach up, see if that shoulder can really reach up through the fingertips. Let's all come down wherever we were in your variation of downward facing dog today. And that might be child's pose without any activity. You might work that active child's pose with downward dog arms, but without bearing weight. You might work half downward dog, knees above, hips above the knees. Let me show that one again, just in case it's like, what is that one again? I haven't done that since we started class. That's what that one looks like. We're going to inhale the left leg up into the air behind you. If it's okay to bend the heel towards the buttocks and lift the knee and stack the left hip on top of the right. By on top, you probably won't get there, whatever that is in your body. And then bringing it through center, bringing the left foot forward. Let's work the high lunge for just a second. Blocks or no blocks, I want you to think of your body being in plank. It just happens that the left leg is forward and we're a little high, right? But I mean the same strength of plank. Now bring the right knee down, uncurl the toes, and here we go on that lunge series. Inhale, straighten the left leg any amount. Never has to straighten all the way, ever, ever, ever. Exhale, bend. If you can bring those hips in a little bit without hanging in the joints, you can bring them a little forward for this one. And meaning the knee would go in front of your ankle a little bit. Pulling back on your inhale. Yeah, so go ahead and pulse through that a couple of times, a few times more appropriately. And then no rush on it. Yeah, but the next time you go back, you're going to stay back. I'll be back there in a second with you. You might move those hands back, blocks back. You might flex the left foot, even if the knee needs to be bent, it's okay. Push the left heel forward. I might start to straighten my leg, not by pushing the heel forward today, but by letting that heel pushing forward help my hips move further back, my buttocks, bones reaching up and back, much like a downward dog, whatever that is in your body. You do not have to look like me, right? If you're feeling your hamstring or the back of your knee, you're in. Wonderful. If you're feeling it at the buttocks, you're stretching your hamstring attachment. Not so cool. Bend the knee a little bit, right? And then from there, you're going to come forward. You're going to walk forward a little bit. Make sure that ankle's under the knee so the knee is supported this time. Moving into your imaginary blocks. Inhale. Come on up. Right? So you got that pelvic floor work of the imaginary blocks, the thighs, moving the imaginary blocks. You've got the frontal hip points up, buttocks flesh down, and hopefully that gives you a super steady, stable pelvis from which the spine can grow. Upper traps, check into them, inner shoulders, I could say. Left hand, left thigh, reach out of the right side waist over towards the right side, left side of your room. And again, you might feel that right above the pelvis, the rim of the pelvis on the right side. That is the top of your psoas. Super long, burly muscle. And come back through center. Right hand's going to come under right shoulder on block or ground. Inhale, lengthen the spine, left hip in and back, turning towards your left. Option 1, hand stays on the thigh. Option 2, arm reaches up. You might stay there. Option 3, maybe turn the palm towards the head side of the mat and do circles, bringing it down and around, palm towards the front, and then maybe you do that one more time if that's feeling okay. The next time you end up, lengthen. Push the right hand down, lengthen from shoulder to shoulder, left shoulder up to left palm. And bringing the hands down, stepping forward to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach that chest forward. Exhale and fold. Inhale, hands on hips or arms can come out wide as you come all the way up to standing. And exhale, bring those arms out and down. Okay, so I want to do one more. I don't know, everybody's setup's a little bit different. So I'm going to show you the pose and you're going to try to figure out what would work best for you. I happen to be on a slidey floor, so I can put a blanket in front of my heels so it will slide. If you have a carpet, your heel will probably slide really good. But we're going to go into half splits and it's going to be our big today. So I'll be on hands and knees. I can always double my mat over if I need more padding under my knees. And don't do it yet. Just watch me for a hot shake, right? And then a hot shake, and then your right foot's going to go on. So the pose that we just did is pretty similar, right? We're going to keep our hips over our knee for this one, and we can use blocks or coffee tables or walls or chairs or books, and we're going to push the right leg out, right? And we're going to try to find that same thing where our buttocks bones reach back, and we might stay right here. We might, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, start to move towards the splits. Don't let the hips split. Keep that left hip working forward, right hip working back, and I'll speak to that as we go in. So whatever you need, I'm going to do a little double over on my mat so that my knee has a little more support. And I'm going to do a sliding material because my heel doesn't slide on my hardwood floor. I have something by me for my hands, but you probably could get away without it, right? Or just go over closer to your coffee table. Your right foot's going to come forward first and just start to reach it out to where we just were moments ago, right? The foot is flexed, the toes pull back, and my hip is approximately over my left knee. I ground my left shin down, and then I'm going to reach my chest forward, my heel pushes forward, and I try to get the buttocks bones to reach back behind me. Now this might feel like plenty. You might slide. So I keep flexing the right foot and pushing the right heel forward, but now I'm going to slide that heel out on my carpet, the grass, the blanket, whatever that is. Keep the right hip pulling back. Keep the left hip pulling forward so that you don't split the pelvis wide open. We're trying to keep both hips parallel to the front edge of our mat. And this is splits. Welcome. Hanumasana, blah, 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 blah. The monkey god. And bring it back. Ooh. Walk yourself back slowly, slowly drag that heel back. Bring that knee down to match the left and just pause for a second. One more side, this is the big stuff. Not as much strength today, I'll add more strength on Thursday. From there, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna flex that left foot and get that left leg out in front of you. Knee can totally stay a little bit bent, that is okay. Right hip stays approximately over the right knee. And before we start to slide the heel, find the elongation of the spine, right? So shoulder blades down the back and lengthen the spine, buttocks, bones back behind you. And that might be like, yep, I'm good, thanks, I'm so good. You might start to slowly push that heel, that blanket, that carpet out in front of you, trying to keep the toes pulling back until you feel the split wants to happen. The right hip would want to move back, the left hip wants to move forward, but I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to keep my right hip pulling forward and my left hip pulling back so that my hips don't split, right? But my legs do. Breathe, shoulder blades down the back. Eleanor, this is kind of a big one for fists. I apologize, I just realized that. You can always come onto your fists. And, you know, technically, if you want to, we wouldn't want to put any weight in the hands, but, you know, we usually do. Go ahead and drag that heel back. So what do I mean by that? I mean, someday when you're out here, you wouldn't use your hands at all, right? It would be total leg strength. Ha, 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 ha. And let that leg come back. And a child's pose. So if you need to extend your mat back out, just take a hot second in your child's pose. Be curious if this one feels any differently than the first one that we did in class. We had done some opening when we got there, right? But we've still done quite a bit more since that moment. And then you're going to bring yourself up, and we're going to come onto our backs. You can let those knees come together and the legs swoosh around. If you need anything for Shavasana standing by, have it standing by. A little more work would be the arms out, hands on the back of the thighs, medium, and elbows coming down is the softest version to help assist. If you were working all weekend out in the garden, I would say bring your elbows down and help that beautiful low back come down. It worked plenty this weekend. From there, let's go ahead and bring our knees in, but we're going to put our hands on our kneecaps and then circle the knees together, same direction. And start with a small circle, maybe more about the size of a grapefruit. Yeah. And when you do that, just notice, where do you feel this? For me, I feel it more centralized, right in the very middle of my sacrum area. And then go ahead and start to spiral out and let that be a little bit wider or get a little bit wider. And then notice if maybe, different bodies, different things, you don't start to invite a massage more on the outer rim of the sacrum and low back. And then we're going to go the other direction. But again, let's start with a grapefruit size circle. And let's see if we can't give a little attention right to the very middle of the sacrum. That's a triangular shaped bone. That was last week, right? That is the base of the pelvis. And then start to spiral out, maybe making that circle bigger in this same direction. And again, just notice if that shifts anything in your body. Does that get a different part of your body? And then from there, we're going to go ahead and hug those knees in and give them a little squeeze. You can let the low back round down into the ground right now. It's not that you can never do that. I just want you to notice when you do. And there are times I ask you not to, yeah? And soft shoulders. Bring those feet down on the ground. We're going to do one medium bridge. We're not going to work it too much, but let's just go ahead and let's just go to that upper back. I said I would do a little bit upper back and shoulders. We did a little bit, but we didn't do a lot. So let's have one more. As you push the feet down, you're going to lift the hips up. They don't have to lift high. Go ahead and rock and see if you can't get those shoulder heads under you just a little bit more. You can always do the interlace, but for some of us that feels like an awful lot. So we might just grab the outer edge of our mat and pull the mat apart like a piece of paper and then push it forward so that you can get that little bit of chest opening. My interlacers, the direction I would give you is pretend you have a strap around your wrist and push out into said strap and push down. Take one more breath. Okay, let's let those shoulders wiggle out as we roll down. Tailbone is the last thing to come down. Hopefully that way we have the full length of our spinal column, but if you need to set the hips up and down and get in there, go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and do, I think I have time for one more twist. Yeah, let's do one more twist here before we go into Shavasana. So you're going to pick your hips up and you're going to move your hips a little bit to the left of center. And then straighten your right leg out. You might need to look at this one. Most all you'll know this. I'm not saying you do, but if you do, just remember to let go and come back down so your neck doesn't stress out. Bring the left knee towards your body, right hand, outer left knee, left arm, tease out. Take an inhale, and with an exhale, roll onto right side body. And I'm demonstrating that. But again, if you chose to look at me, please settle down your head and your neck once you get it. Maybe turning the head to the left, keeping that left shoulder down. Now, if this feels too extreme, I would just release the knee with the hand and let the foot slide down a little bit. The knee just kind of goes wherever it wants to, or bending both knees and just a simple supine twist. Take one more breath wherever you are. And rolling onto your back body. We're going to pick those hips up and we're going to move them past center and just a little bit over to the right. Straightening the left leg, right knee comes in, left hand, outer right knee, right arm, tease out, inhale. Exhale, roll onto left side body. Maybe the head turns to the right. Again, adjustments might be you just simply release the leg and let the knee move away from the body a little bit. Or bending both knees, right? So find the twist that works the best in the body that you have right now. Remembering that we love this body. We do these things because we want a healthy, happy relationship with our body, not because we need to force it into something or because we don't like it. I had a lot of years of doing that.
Roll your right hip back down to the earth with the feet on the ground. Pick your hips up and move your hips back to the center of your mat. Adjust, baby, tiny adjustments, whatever feels like it's the right little thing to do so that you can start to come into Shavasana. Two leg options are still on the table. If anyone at their house happens to have a bolster or a blanket they want under their thighs, that is a lovely, I call it a tweener, right? It's in between the feet on the ground and the legs extended. Often has this beautiful release for the muscles of the low back and the sacrum. So again, if you've been working that area a lot and you have that blanket, I would take that, or a couch cushion, something like that. But maybe you need your blanket to cover up because it's a little chilly or whatever that is. Okay. So you are in Shavasana, friends. Close your eyes once you get there. And just start to scan through that body. And again, if you like that thing we did at the beginning, meaning where I had you just pay attention to what was the most dominant in your body. And then you kind of went through from most dominant to least dominant. You can go through that way today and play with that. But once you, pardon me, check in and you notice that your body, your physical body, has let go, I'm going to start to have you bring your awareness to the base of the nostrils. And when you inhale, just notice the breath coming in at the base of the nostrils. Now, some of us can feel that against the nostrils. For some of us, we notice it on the upper lip, more on the exhale. So, notice on the exhale as well, if you can feel that breath. So it might be the sensation of the breath entering and exiting. It might be the sensation of the temperature. The breath is cooler on the way in and a little warmer on the way out. And you can keep doing that. Every time I do anything, I try to do it in stages, right? So maybe you're just staying right there and you're working with that and trying to feel that sensation of the breath. If you're starting to feel that and you've kind of got a hold of that or a grasp on that anyway, when you inhale, I want you to follow the breath, the prana, actually the life force, from the base of the nostrils up to the third eye, the place between the eyebrows. Anatomically, you have a sinus cavity right about there. And with the exhale, you'll follow the prana from the third eye down to the nostrils. And that is your pattern. So now find your rhythm. All I mean by that is your breath. You don't have to control the breath anymore. You're just noticing it. So that's stage 2. You might continue to move with the breath from the nostrils to the third eye and back down again. Otherwise, the next time you inhale, see if you can inhale, bringing the awareness up to that third eye area, and then try to keep your awareness there. I want you to imagine that I very gently, unless this would bother you for any reason, that I very gently, energetically right now, lightly pressing on the area between your eyebrows. If it helps you to touch that area, so you have sensation, so you know that area, you can do that and touch it and then bring your hand back down. And again, you're just trying to bring your awareness to that area and now leave it there. And it's going to get distracted by other things, and that's okay. Just bring it on back. One more piece to this. If you're staying in that third eye area, keep the awareness in the third eye, but can you simultaneously notice what you see on the back of your eyelids? That means that your eyes are closed, right? But your eyes, they're still taking in information. If you're in a room that's dark, it might be dark behind your eyes. If you have more light, you might notice a color or something along those lines. But as you look at the back of your eyelids, is there anywhere where you see kind of that dark black, blue, indigo / midnight sky kind of a color? Keep those eyes really soft. This is not a muscular thing, but can you let that blue-black area, that midnight sky area, start to expand? Just imagine that it expands and takes over the whole back of your eyelids. So your eyes are just seeing that blue-black color. Forehead soft, eyebrows are soft, eyeballs are soft. You're playing with your neurology a little bit right now. You don't have to know exactly what it's doing. You're just trying to see if you can't keep your awareness in the third eye center and simultaneously try to fill the back of your eyelids with that blue-black color. And go ahead and let that go. Let the mind go wherever it wants to go. Let's just take a few more breaths, letting that mind wander. And then if you want to wiggle fingers, toes, scrunch face muscles, squinch the eyes, stretch the arms overhead, right? Any of that stuff that feels good, go ahead and do that. And start to slowly make your way up to seated. You are not in a rush to get there. And I say you're not in a rush, but I know some of you, just to let you all know, it is 10. I ran us a couple minutes up to the button here, but I will end us quickly. But if you need to be out of here by 10, we'll see you later, right? Otherwise, sitting, kneeling, on a chair, on a cushion, whatever. Once you get yourself situated, bring those hands together in front of the heart. Shoulders soften away from the ears, broad collarbone. And then with that beautiful long spine, right? Inhale, let that belly move away from the spine, fill all the way up to the collarbones. Keep that chest lifted. Exhale, bowing the head just gently in. Doesn't have to go in very far. And from this place, let's take a moment of gratitude. I think you all know this already, but gratitude is a practice. It's not natural to anybody. It's something that the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And during these times, we especially need to practice, right? Namaste, friends.